Welcome to the next and final part for today of STEMtastic 2021. I'm going to introduce Dowda Barry, also known as David, so hence why it's got David on the screen when he comes on. He's the director of Adama Robotics, which is an educational technology company that actually helps teach you Python coding with robots. I think it's absolutely amazing. So he's going to go through some different bits, hopefully, all about Python programming, introduce you to it, and at the end of it, you should have some understanding and gain some experience of the core of Python programming. So without me rambling on too much longer, over to you, David.
Hi, hello everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for the Python programming workshop. Thank you for the introduction, Catherine. As Catherine said, I'm a computer scientist by education and a former teaching assistant of Python and Java. And today we are going to learn some foundational Python programming. For that, I'm going to share my screen. 3, 2, 1. Everyone, I should be able to see my screen. If not, just please send me a message on chat. Thank you. And we are going to use a website called Trinket. So if you open a browser and just type Trinket, that's TRINKET.io, and then press enter, please. And this is the software or website that we are going to use to write our Python code. Once you are on the website, you have to log in, or you can log in. So actually I'm logging in at the moment, so I'm going to sign out and show you how you can log in. You can use your Google account or Clever. I usually just log in with my Google account. So you can click on sign in with Google, or we can sign up with your email. But if you want to make it quick and easy, you can just use your Google account for time being. So I'm going to sign in with my Google account, Adama Robotics. It's just loading, takes a while. Great, so we all should be logged in now. And this is the home page screen. So once you are logged in, on top right hand corner, you should see this button which says New Trinket. Click on it, please, and then select Python 3. Select Python 3, and then a new window will open, and that's where we are going to write our code. Right. So Trinket. When you can you let me know in chat, is this your first time ever coding, or have you done it before? Please let me know in chat so I can have an understanding of level of expertise within the group. Just a simple yes or no in chat. Okay. Not that much. Okay, so let's get started. So what's Python? Python is a programming language. Is one of the most popular programming languages in the world. Python, Java, C, C++ are really the most popular ones, but Python, I'll say, is #1. And that's due to the fact that it's a very powerful language, but at the same time, it's very simple. It's very easy to learn. And it has many applications in artificial intelligence, data science, data engineering, robotics, machine learning, you name it. You can do a lot with Python. So it's a very, very good language to learn. So as I said earlier, we are going to use Trinket. So in programming, we have this thing called IDE, which stands for Integrated Development Environment, which is really just software that we use to write code in some way that if you want to write a letter, more than likely you'll use Microsoft Word, but in programming, we use IDE. And in this case, the IDE we are going to use is called Trinket. For a professional environment, you'll be using another IDE. A popular one is called Atom. Atom is very popular, Visual Studio among other ones, but those ones you have to set them up and takes longer. Trinket works very well for the beginning. So we're going to get started with simple inputs and outputs. Essentially, how can we tell the computer or the machine to take some data from us and output it to the screen? Uh, by that, okay, so we click on screen and let's type name. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm creating a variable called name. And as you might have guessed, this variable will store data, which is someone's name. A variable in coding is, the analogy that I use often is a variable is same as a box. We can use a box, store toys, books, other items. So a variable, same as a box. A variable stores data. In this case, variable name will store data, which is someone else's name. So we type name and then equal sign, and then we type input. So we are telling Python we are going to receive input from the user, and then close, and then open and close French brackets. If you are using a Mac, is the numbers 9 and 0 on the keyboard. So you open and then you close, and then within brackets, double quotes, and let's type, what's your name? Okay, so I'm going to go through this again, yeah, because it might be a little bit complicated in the beginning. So we have a variable called name, and we are telling Python we want to receive input from the user, and then we open and close French brackets, and then we open double quotes. As you can see, it's two sets of quotes. We have one quotes here, and then a second pair of quotes at the end, and then within the quotes, we type, what's your name? So this is what we want to print to screen. So if I run this, to run it, we click on the run button here on the top, run. And then as you can see, it prints on right hand screen, what's your name? Okay. And now once the user types his or her name, we want to print that name to screen. So for that, we use the print function. So we type print, open and close French brackets again, and then within the brackets, we type name of variable that we want to print to screen. So in this case, it's name. As you can see, we initialize the variable here name, and then we print it here name. Okay. Now let's run this and see what it works. Okay. So as you can see, what's your name? My name is Dauda, and then enter, and then you print screen. What's your name? Okay. Can we all please try to do this first line of code and see if it works? If it doesn't, please let me know in chat. Okay, so we have a, okay. So I'm assuming that everyone was able to do that. Okay, fantastic. So let's move on and create a second variable called surname, because we want to get user surname. So it's very similar to what we did before. So we initialize variable surname is equal, then we type input. So we are telling Python we are going to use the input function because we want to get input from the user. And then again, close, or I mean, open and close French brackets. Within the brackets, double quotes again. And then very similar to what we did before. What's your surname? It can be anything, you know, so you can type anything here. Yes, but in this case, what's your surname? And then we want to print screen whatever the user types. So the variable is called surname. So within quotes, we put the same variable name again. And then let's run this. What's your name? So in Python and in programming languages, often the code runs from top to bottom. So as you can see, first variable is called name, and then second surname. So that's why it asks us first, what's your name? So my first name is Dauda. And then what's your surname? My surname is Barry. and there it is. It prints my surname as well. And now let's print hello and then person's name and surname. For that, we just use the print function. So we print, open and close the brackets, double quotes, and then we say hello, space, plus, then what we want the person's name plus person's surname. Okay, so this now should print hello. Let's say my first name is Jack, my surname is Smith, Jack Smith. Let's test it. So my name for time being is Jack. It's just name, Jack. It's your surname. Let's say I'm Smith. And he prints hello, Jack Smith. But as you can see, it doesn't look that nice, isn't it? Because it's glued together. So let's create some space there. For that, we use double quotes and then a plus. And let's run this again. Jack Smith. Okay, still the same. Okay, no way. Yep. So you have to give some space between the double quotes, otherwise still close. And there it is. Hello, Jack Smith. Fantastic. So that's an easy and quick way to show how we can get input and output data in Python. Easy peasy. And there is many stuff that you can do with this. Later on, feel free to change these variable names. So for example, you could ask someone what's your favorite color, or what's your favorite football team, anything really. Yes, you just need to change the variables names. Fantastic. So that's simple inputs and outputs. And it only took us 12 minutes. So well done on that. Now we are going to move to the next topic, which is if statements. Essentially is how can we allow the computer to make some decisions on our behalf based on some rules. I'm going to get rid of this code. Feel free to copy and paste it somewhere else if you want. So in if statements, the code only runs if a piece of code is true, otherwise it is skipped. So for example, let's say John wants to go to a pub, but you only can enter the pub if you are age 18 or above. That means if John is age 17, he cannot go into the pub. So if that was an if statement will not run because John is 17, it's below 18. Okay, it might sound complicated, but trust me, it's not as complicated. So let's start with an example and work from there. So now I'm going to create a new variable called grade. And as you might have guessed, I want to ask someone's grade. So grade is equal int. And this is new. So previously, we wrote this grade input, and then we opened and closed the brackets. And then within the double brackets, we type whatever we want to output. So I want to ask the user, what's your grade? Okay. But now we need to add something else new, which is this int. So int open and then close. So int stands for integer. And an integer in programming is a whole number. So 10, 6, 8, 9, 12, you name it, is a whole number. That's an integer. A float is a decimal number. So it's a number with a comma. We have strings. A strings just a group of letters. So dad, mother, that's a string. Then we have characters. Characters as is very self-explanatory. It's just a single character. So we are telling Python, we are creating a new variable called grade, and this grade will be of type integer, because when you have a grade on a test, you'll get a 70, a 90, 99. Very often you'll get a 90.1 95 or 90.2 is not often. So we are telling Python all of the grades will be of type integer. They will be all numbers. And then similar to what we did before, we are telling Python we want input from the user, and this is what we want to output to the user. Okay, so let's run this. Just it will print what's your grade. Okay, fantastic. What's your grade? And now, based on student's grade, we want to print different stuff to the screen. So let's say if the student's grade is greater greater or equal to 70. So we say if grade is greater or equal to 70 and then colon. We want to say print great job. Okay, so let's run this and test it. What's your grade? So let's say I got 76. She'll print great job, well done. But actually, let's change this and say A grade. If someone else 70 or greater, they got an A grade. So let's run this again. What's your grade? So let's say my grade was 80. What should it print? A grade. So let's test it. Enter. A grade. Fantastic. So we have our first if statement. And now, but as we all know, someone might get a 60. So for that, we need to create a new rule. And in order to create a new rule, we use an elif. So the first one was if. Second rule, we have to use an elif. Elif is just a conjugation of else if. So we are telling Python if the grade is greater or equal 70 is an A grade. Else if or elif, if the grade, okay, is greater or equal to 60, and then don't forget colon, please. Print B grade. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so let's test this now. So what's your grade? If I got, let's say my grade was 90, what should it print? Please let me know in chat. If I type 90, should it print A grade or should it print B grade based on these two rules? Please feel free to use the chat function. Okay, so I'll press enter. Prints A grade. Fantastic. So our rules are working well. So as you can see, 90 is indeed greater than 70, so it did print A grade. Okay, now let's run this test again. If we 66, it should print B grade because of the second rule. Okay. Let's create one last rule. What if student it gets 50? So for that, we create another elif rule. So we say elif, else if the grade is greater or equal to 50, then colon, print C grade. Okay, and now let's test this. What's your grade? So let's say 55, and it should print C grade. Fantastic. So far we have 3 rules, but as you can see, we could carry on 40, 30, 25, and henceforth, but that's a lot of work. And our goal with programming is really to make our life easy as much as possible. So for that, we can just create one last rule called else. And So we are going to tell Python, if the grade is greater or equal 70 is A, if otherwise is B, otherwise is C, and then we, in the end, we tell Python, else we can print anything else that we want. So let's print something nice. Better luck next time. Better luck next time. Okay, let's run this. And let's test again. So let's say my grade was 70, A grade, fantastic. 60 should be B, fantastic. Let's test for the third rule. 51, C grade, okay, well done. And now let's say 49. So what should be the message displayed on the screen? What's your grade? Someone got 49. According to these rules, message printed should be better luck next time. So let's test it, run, and see. What's your grade? 49. Better luck next time. It works. So that's if-else statements. And as you can see, it's a very simple way of allowing computer to make decisions on our behalf. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do with if statements. So let's say someone can only drive if they are 18 or above. You can create a program that will ask someone's age, and then if they are 18 or above, yes, you can drive. If you are below 18, you cannot drive. So yes, that's if-else statements. And now we are going to move to a third topic. Now is how can we repeat code? Another useful function of programming. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this. Feel free to copy and paste it if you want. Okay, so now we're going to learn about loops. And loops, as name says, allows you to loop code. Let's say the teacher tells you, write down in a piece of paper 50 times, today is Monday, today is Monday, today is Monday. As a human being, you have to do that yourself 50 times from line 1 to line 50. But in coding, you can just use 2 or 3 lines and then repeat that code over and over again as many times as you want. And that's what we are going to learn now. So instead of writing the same line of code over and over again, for loops allow you to write them once and then put them in a loop and then they repeat themselves over and over. So there are 2 types of loops. We have for loops. We have for loops and we have while loops. For loops, we use them when we want to repeat something for a known number of times. So let's say we want to repeat something 5 times, we use for loops. While loops, we use them when we don't know how many times we want to repeat a line of code. So this one is unknown. That's really the main difference between them. And also the syntax is different. Syntax in programming means grammar. Grammar is just a set of rules that you have to follow when you're writing code. In same way that if you speak French, English, or Portuguese, or Italian, or Japanese, there's a set of rules that you have to follow when you're speaking those languages. Same concept applies in programming. But while that in spoken languages, we call them grammar, in coding, we call it syntax. So the syntax of for loops and while loops is different, but their function is very, very similar. Okay, so let's get started with for loops. So we start by typing for, and then we initialize a variable. Usually the variable is either I, J, or K. So we say for I in, and then range, we create a range. So the range is how many times we want to repeat or code. So first first number is where we want to start, and then comma, and then second number is where we want to finish. And then print. So what we want to repeat, we want print Python is fun. Okay. So we are telling Python, we are going to use a for loop. We created a variable called I, and then we want to run the I variable in range 0 to 5. So we want to print this. Python is fun. Let's run it and test. So there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Python is fun. So it starts at 0 and it runs for 5 times. If I change this to 10, we should have 10 Python is fun. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and there it is. And you can change this number to anything that you want. 100. Oh yeah, why not? Let's go. And as you can see, yes, we have 100 Python is fun there. So that's a for loop. Quick and easy way to repeat code as many times as we want. And now we are going to go through the while loop. So the while loop is very similar to for loop. The only difference that we don't know how many times we want to repeat code. So we start usually by initializing a variable, I again. So I is standard 100 variables, but it can be any other variable. So we say while I smaller than any number that we want. So in this case 6. We say print is okay. So we initialize the variable called I. We tell Python we are going to use a while loop, and we want this code to run while I smaller than 6, and then to print I is whatever the value of I is. And then the last line of code is I is equal I plus 1. So we want increment value of I by 1. Okay, let's run this. I think then it will make more sense. It might seem confusing, as you can see. So I begins at 0. So the code prints I is 0. Then second iteration is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And it runs until 5 because the rule that we did set is I runs until when it's smaller than 6. So if I change this to 10, it should run until 9. So let's run again. And there it is, 9. And this number can be anything else. So 100 should be until 99. There it is. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 lines of code, and the result is 99 lines of code. So a very simple but powerful way to repeat lines of code. Okay, and now let me check time. Okay, so we are pretty good with time actually. Yes, we still is going at a good rate. Let me just check chat. And if you have any question, please feel free to let me know in chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume that we are all on pair. Okay, get rid of this. Okay, so now we are going to learn about lists. A list is just a collection of values, and it allows us to collect related data within a list. We can have a list of names, a list of your favorite friends, favorite books, among other stuff. So essentially, it's a list. So I'm going to clear my screen. Command A and delete. If you are on a Mac, no Windows, I believe it's Control A and delete. And let's start a list. So I'm going to create a list called colors. Colors is equal, and then square brackets. As you can see now, for list we use square brackets. So previously we were using French brackets, these brackets. They might seem similar, but they are different. So these ones are curvy brackets, square brackets, as name says, they are squared. So for list, we have to use square brackets. Otherwise, you'll get an error. And then double quotes, and then we type whatever we want the values for the list to be. And then we separate each value with a comma. So colors blue, red, double quotes, comma, yellow, and then I want to print screen value stored in the list. So for that, name of list is colors. So just type colors, print. Let's run this, test it. It's a bit slow. Don't know why. Okay, there it is. So we have blue, red, and yellow. Okay, you can add a couple more colors. So pink, orange. That's enough. And let's run it again. And there it is. We have all of the colors in our list. However, let's say instead of printing all of the colors, you just want to print some specific colors, either first, second, or third color. For that, we use a concept called index. Just 1 second, please. We use indexes. And I'm going to explain you what's an index now. So we type print colors, name of list, then double square brackets. Then we put any number that we want. So an index, it's very similar to an ID. So each one of these values in the list has a corresponding ID or corresponding index. However, the secret is that in programming, we all start counting from 0. So as human beings, usually start counting from 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and henceforth. But in programming, we all start counting from 0. So this index 0, index 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's say I want to print red. This 0, index 1. So here I type 1. And if I run this, it should print red, as you can see here. If I want to print pink, so I need index 0, index 1, 2, 3. I need type 3 here. And there it is, pink. So that's what we do when we want to print just a specific value in a list instead of all of the values in the list. So I'm going to get rid of this list. So this was the list just using strings or words. However, we also can have lists just made up of numbers. So years, square brackets, 2021. Then we have to separate the numbers with a comma, but we don't need to use double quotes now. And now let's print this to screen. So print years, let's run it, and it should print all of these values, and it does 21 and henceforth. We can add even some more values. Okay, fantastic. So as you can see, there's no need for double quotes when we are using numbers or integers. We only use double quotes when we are using strings. And we can do the same thing again by using indexes. So here's square bracket. Let's say I want to print 1997. So for that, index 0, as you remember, we all start counting from 0 in programming. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I type further, it should print 1997 here. Okay, and it does. Fantastic. Okay, any question about this? Please let me know in chat if you have any question. Okay, no questions. So this was last topic we had to go through today. Usually we do different examples and people also ask questions, but I'm not sure whether chat function is working. Yes, but yeah, this everything we had to do. So we did learn about inputs and outputs in Python, how to make decisions using if, elif, and else statements, how to repeat lines of code using for loops and while loops, and also we went through lists of data using both strings and numbers. Thank you for taking part in the workshop. I hope that it was useful and interesting.
Thank you, Dowda. It was very useful. I've been watching away with my level 2 students and paying attention to some of the little programs, because it's always nice to have other examples of little programs of how to do the basics of coding in any language. So being able to just go, have you tried this and have you tried that, and a different way of looking at things is always really helpful. So thank you, Dowda. It's been really good. And hopefully lots of the others that we're watching have taken a lot from it as well.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye for now.